No, so you were obviously around back in the early days of Charles Oliveira's original lightweight run, and for people who may have heard us do this chant before, little origin story. So obviously, I think most people who have been watching for a while, they definitely know who Sean Mullen is because we've had him on the show a few times. Basically, got me into the sport, which got you into the sport. So if you think about it, if it wasn't for Sean, the Herd Handbook probably wouldn't even exist. But back this is like before 2020, I think we'd be sitting in his apartment every weekend watching fights, and actually it was I think it was the final card before the pandemic because it was in Brazil too. It was Kevin Lee versus Charles Oliveira, and me and Sean had been like hyping up Charles Oliveira at that point for like another couple of years because he was beating a lot of, I guess, journeyman fighters would be like the way to put it, but like fighters who had a decent amount of talent. And he was like running through them, and we were always like, man, we think if they gave him like a top opponent, like he'd probably beat them too, but they just hadn't done it. And then he fights Kevin Lee, who at that point was still like a high ranked member of the UFC lightweight division. Oliveira beats him. And then from there, like we were like, well, now he's got to win over a top opponent, and like they have to give him a good guy next. And I think after that was, I want to say it was Tony Ferguson. Uh, but anyway, so like at that moment, we were kind of talking about like, well, what if Charles Oliveira goes on this insane run and just becomes lightweight champ and calls out Conor McGregor? That's the real money fight. Beats Conor McGregor, and then the BRONX chant is actually an homage to DC's Thug Rose chant. In case you guys didn't figure that one out, but yeah. Anyway, I don't know. I love Charles Oliveira. I think as everyone does. But yeah, me and Sean were on the bandwagon at the Nick Lentz fight. So most casuals, they don't even know who Nick Lentz is. So just gotta throw that one out there. But man,
Okay, so then I ask you,
okay.
what was it like? What was it like right now after all of that? After all those years of being ahead of the curve, seeing him on prelims of fight night cards, I would assume, or pay per views, and then now he's a bona fide pay per view star back on a fight night card.
I mean, I haven't watched fights with Sean in a while, but like we've talked about it like fairly recently, like how crazy it is that Charles Oliveira actually became the huge star. Because like when we were talking about it, this is like before the UFC was really giving him chances and stuff. So we were always like joking around. Oh yeah, imagine if Conor McGregor wanted to fight Charles Oliveira, and then after Oliveira eventually won the title, Conor McGregor was talking about it. We were like, yo, this is too much. But yeah, it's crazy, man. I mean, I love watching Charles Oliveira fight, and it's not for any particular reason other than like what everybody else thinks. Like he's just so exciting, and just me and Sean, we were watching that from. I mean, well, Sean literally since day one, but like we were really hyping him up before the UFC was giving him those big chances. But yeah, man, and then to see what happened in this fight in the main event, and spoiler alert for those who didn't see it. Uh,
Well, I think not only is it just he's so exciting, because I think one might even differ because you're gonna have the fan who's just not a fan of the grappling, no matter what the jiu-jitsu, and they're there to watch a slugfest or a beat down on the ground. So Charles, not I think it's more or less he's so technical. He's like a spider monkey in there. You know what I mean? Like it's it's like a it's like another version of Anderson Silva. If Anderson Silva was a world class Brazilian Jiu Jitsu specialist like Charles Oliveira is, and you saw it again in this fight as well. Just I mean, like the guy's stature for one. I think he's just built different as a lightweight. Um, like I could if you
isn't it
wanted.
crazy? He fought at featherweight at one point, and
Yeah,
like
how
was
did he fight at featherweight? Because I was about to say like,
yeah,
I,
it's just because you're right. Like at lightweight, it really is his weight class. But yeah, it's crazy that he actually went down to 45 and actually was successful at 45 for the most part. But you know, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt that. I just kind of agreed with what you were
well,
saying.
no, it speaks for itself if you take a look at what he did in this fight, just the transitions and how he's able to pass into like a rear naked choke, for instance. That he got the finish with here. It's just, it's like it's overwhelming even for someone like Gamrot who the reason he got this fight, the reason he filled in for even the first, because he is someone a good grappler and has a lot of jiu-jitsu to go around. So, you know, even then you thought this is a good matchup anyways, and BRONX made it look like clockwork.
Well, the thing with Oliveira too is that, and he was talking about this after the fight, is that like his game plan coming in was truly like, I'm just gonna go in there and take this win. And it's like there's a lot of fighters who go in there and like they're just trying to win on points. Charles Oliveira, he's trying to take your head off and finish you throughout the entire fight, and it just seemed like from the get go he was just on Gamrot, and I just don't think Gamrot was able to deal with like that level of like just overwhelming pressure mixed with like the technique that you were just talking about. It's just there's levels to this, and there's a reason why Charles Oliveira was a champion, and why Gamrot is still on his way up there. And this fight really proved that there's some levels to this, even though Gamrot took it on short notice. But like Gamrot has the type of style that should be pretty effective against Oliveira, and it just wasn't, put it bluntly. And
I
yeah.
just think Charles Oliveira has just this submission arsenal that goes beyond most, if not every single fighter in UFC right now.
Well, he definitely knows how to use it. Because, like, when you think about it, there's a lot of fighters who've come and gone in the UFC that were, like, excellent jiu-jitsu practitioners but couldn't really apply it in mixed martial arts. Charles Oliveira, like, he really does a good job at, like, utilizing his skills. Like, think about, like, Crone Gracie, for example. I think everybody would agree that that dude's nasty on the ground, but it's like if you can't get the people there, what's the point of even being that good in the UFC? So it's just it's interesting to see how Charles Oliveira has gotten so much better over the course of the years, and like he's always had these like this set of skills, but he's never really was able to put it together until that run that we were talking about in the beginning.
Like it's almost like he can just take a limb off right then and there. Like, I'll obviously never forget the Tony Ferguson. I still understand how Tony Ferguson managed to get out of that and still keep going. But and here is like, freaking Gamrot's head could have popped off at any second. And I just think that brute strength to go with the technique is something that the 155 division is still really needs to be careful of, because he's right there back for a title shot once again. So
Well, I thought this was interesting too, and this shows you like how smart Charles Oliveira has gotten to from like the business side of the UFC. But after the fight, Charles Oliveira called for a rematch with Max Holloway for the BMF belt, which I think is a fight that's worthy of that. And you know my thoughts on the BMF belt. I kind of think it's a gimmick, but if you're going to keep using that gimmick, Max Holloway versus Charles Oliveira 2 is the type of fight that you want to book. And those guys, man, like, they fought in 2015, so literally over 10 years ago now at this point. And Holloway won, but it was a weird win because it was a TKO, but it was also kind of caused by a neck injury with Oliveira, and like that's kind of been the big question mark.
10 years ago they first.
Yeah, man, August of 2015. I'm kind of curious, what card was that on? That this will be a time capsule for everybody.
Yeah, that is, wow.
Let's see, because I'm genuinely curious of when their first. Because obviously I know it was 10 years ago, but let's see like when it actually was. It's their event. Isn't that great? Damn, headline in it.
Wow.
In Saskatoon, in Canada, man. UFC
Yes.
Saskatoon.
Oh my god, dude.
Oh my god. This is what I'm talking about. We got like UFC Vegas 1 whatever we're on, and like, bro, at one point we had UFC Saskatoon.
Yeah. You have Max Holloway, and you have a freaking pay-per-view headliner in Saskatoon.
To be fair, this was way before
I know,
all
but
that.
now fast forward 10 years and
some good fights on there too. Neil Magny versus Eric Silva. Man, Eric Silva, he was a good throwback to him. Patrick Cote was on this card. Francisco Trinaldo. Damn, man. A young Nikita Krylov, worth noting. But yeah, man, that's kind of crazy actually that it was that long ago. And to think that this time, if they fight, it'll probably be the headliner of a pay per view or a co-main. Either way, I mean, just still insane to see how much they've done since the first time they fought. But just, I still think for Oliveira, he's not getting another title shot right away, especially after how he lost to Taporia. So I think calling out Max Holloway for that BMF belt, that's probably the smartest business move that you can get because you could argue that they're probably going to headline a pay per view with that. I don't see that being a co-main or anything like that. I think this is going to be a 5-round fight for the BMF belt if they decide to make it. And I think it makes sense, honestly, in that division right now. So I think it was a smart move for Oliveira to kind of go after that big money fight rather than the title at this moment,
I
personally.
think I think Max Holloway can knock him out just as much as Charles Oliveira can submit Max Holloway. So it kind of goes both ways. With Ilya Taporia, it was kind of, I don't think, honestly, Charles didn't have much of a choice but to go out the way he did because I
It's
mean,
just the way he fights,
yeah,
man.
Ilya's just too well rounded and especially on the feet, I mean, he that power is too much. So um, this one, yeah, is a coin flip between those two, Max Holloway and Oliveira.
Yeah, because it's not anywhere near what the first fight was. They've both gotten so much better since then. I mean, they've both had title reigns since then, so it's definitely a different one. And obviously, 10 years removed, it's going to be different. But this one's really different, and at a different weight class, needs to be said. Oliveira is not going to be killing himself to get down to 45 like he was back then. It's actually funny. I was the the page on Wikipedia. It says TKO esophagus injury for Oliver. I'm like, damn, that's something you don't see every day. But it's the fight to. I really do think it's the fight to make. I mean, what makes more sense for either of them at this point? I mean, because even Max Holloway, I don't think he's directly at a title shot yet. So I think this is a perfect fight for where they're both at. I don't know why the UFC wouldn't book this. You have two fan favorites. This just seems and like we've talked about the TKO group and how money hungry they are. I mean, this is the type of fight that's going to get them some money. So I don't understand why they would book anything besides Charles Oliveira versus Max Holloway. But still, insane main event. I think I really do think the reason why fans love Charles Oliveira so much is because of just that killer be killed type of style. Because he goes out there to finish fights and like I said, there's a lot of guys who point fight,
Well, that's what I
but
mean. Like, you go 5 runs with Taporia, he likely did a lot of damage to you and didn't take all that much. So it's kind of, it was seriously like, it would have taken a lot for Charles Oliveira to, and it's going to take a lot for anybody to finish Ilya Taporia right now. But
a lot of people are struggling to get out of the second round with the guy. I
yeah,
mean, let alone finishing him.
exactly.
Yeah, I think we got a long way to go yet for that. Well, we'll see actually, but
But yeah, maybe on the other hand, maybe that is the key to beat him. You just have to outlast him for 5 rounds. It's just
it's easier said than done.
way
That's for
easier
sure,
said
bro.
than done. Without getting knocked down at least a few times. So, um,
You ever see that video when Ilya hits that fan with a body shot and the dude just folds? You like it just a quick
but
little.
hey, why do I don't even
Yeah, are you gonna say
why
you
do
don't know why
fans
fans want to do that? Yeah, I
yeah.
don't get that
I'd
either.
rather get hit. I would if I'm gonna let a UFC fighter, or let alone a world champion like Pereira or Ilya Taporia, I'd rather than just hit him in the face. To be honest, I'm not taking a body shot and like risking a freaking like ruptured liver or some shit like that. Hell no, dude.
It's the same people who like ask fighters to leg kick them too. I'm like, why would you want that? Like you just don't want to walk
You
for a
just don't
couple of
want.
days.
Yeah, that's what.
Like I just don't get it, man. People are crazy out there. I think we've learned that at this point. MMA fans are just nuts. But yeah, man, this was just an insane main event. I think everybody was happy to see Charles Oliveira get a victory. Probably, arguably the most beloved fighter in the UFC right now. I think you could say, with him maybe in Pereira. But speaking of,
He was celebrating with these home
Dude.
crowd fans like 3 rows deep. You know.
That made me so happy too. Like I'd love that. Even if Charles Oliveira just like fades into oblivion after this fight, I think that this moment was a cool one that we'll definitely look back on after his career is done.
Yeah. Well, either way, he's gonna go down as a legendary lightweight.
He deserves it, man. He's got like so many. He's in the top 5 for so many categories in the UFC right now. Wins, finishes, bonuses. I mean, come on, this guy's the man. But what's up, guys? Sorry to interrupt the podcast real quick, but we have a message for you guys.
If you enjoy her Hamburg's content, you want to see more, consider subscribing to the channel, leaving a like on the videos, all sorts of fight content as much as possible, podcasts, interviews, vlogs. We have it all over here, so thank you, appreciate it.
We appreciate you, and like he said, please subscribe. And now back to the show. We were talking about kind of getting honored in the city of Rio. And speaking of that, kind of just wanted to talk a little bit about Jose Aldo as well, because that was an unexpected moment there on the card where they had Aldo walk out, with his family into the cage and officially put his gloves down at home in Rio. It was just, that was a cool moment, especially as someone who's really kind of like grown into the sport watching guys like Aldo. That was cool.
That is really cool, because I think, well, at least from what we've seen, like the fighter would wait to have their last fight in their home city, whatever it may be, instead of just straight up just, hey, I'm making the decision to retire, so the next time there's a card being held here, that's where I'm gonna do it. And I like that because it's great, like, even if you do come out with the win, like, but obviously nothing's guaranteed, and what is more than likely guaranteed is that you're gonna take a lot of damage and stuff. And if it is truly your time to retire, like, what's the point of taking even more damage like that and stuff if you're gonna retire anyways? And so I think maybe more fighters, I mean, not as many are gonna have the legendary status of Jose Aldo, so they're not really gonna get the privilege to do that anyways. But I guess in a way it's like, hey, I think it's a good thing that Jose Aldo didn't like try to force having his last fight on this card, like try to jam in some fight or whatever to get on this card and then retire here, risk losing, taking a lot of damage, something like that, and then it would just be a much more bittersweet retirement send off. So.
And his last fight was such a crazy one too, if you remember, with Eamon Zahavi.
Yeah.
That was a nutty fight there in Canada.
Yeah, so you have Zahavi, so like, if I'm sure if Jose Aldo wanted to fight one last time, they would have found a spot for him on this card. Yeah. Zahavi's about to fight again too, so.
Dude, honestly, like, if they wanted to put Jose Aldo on this card in Rio for his final fight, like, I think you'd have to fight him. I think you just have to take the sacrifice, go in there, lose for the cause. Yeah, well, I'm not saying lay down. I mean, give it your best. He deserves that. But
so I should give him my best.
Not just knock out Jose Aldo in Rio by accident, just a fluke. Oh my god, dude, that would bring so much. I don't actually know if that would bring a lot of cred to the Hernan book. That might do us in, actually. Our guy Tiz knocks out Jose Aldo while trying to give him a nice send off. That'd be unfortunate. So I am glad that he got this send off instead of a crazy one.
I would cost a lot of people their bets for sure too.
Yeah, that's for sure. What do you think the odds would be for that fight?
Jose Aldo minus 13 trillion to Tiz's plus.
You get hit with that first calf kick, you're just, it's over, man. It's over.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Don't even think about it. Like, I haven't gotten kicked without shin guards yet either, so, like, I couldn't fathom.
I think even with shin guards, a leg kick from that guy would just hurt.
I would have to find a way for the commission to be like, hey, just let me wear shin guards at least.
I just think of when Aldo fought Uriah Faber in WEC, and then there's that picture of Uriah Faber's leg. I think it's like the next day, and it's just black from the top of his thigh to like the middle of his calf. And like, shout out to Uriah Faber too for like going 5 rounds dealing with that, because he didn't get finished, which was kind of crazy. But yeah, man, what a career for Jose Aldo, and then obviously the main event, what a win for Charles Oliveira. Definitely one of the more important ones for him in recent memory, especially after what happened in his last fight before this one. So just
Yeah,
think this card left a good taste in people's mouths, even though there wasn't like a crazy amount that happened on it. We had some highlights, to be fair. There were some nice knockouts and stuff on this card.
yeah. I think
But
this is shaping up to be the best month of the year for the UFC because there's another good card next week that you're gonna preview real quick, and it's just what was it? It's October 14th, and so it's like another 2 weeks so, and then the next pay per view is when?
yeah, it's a couple weeks from now. The next week is UFC Canada, and then the week after is UFC 321. So like
Perfect. There
this
you
is
go. Yeah.
this is shaping up to be a good month already. So this is gonna be crazy because I mean UFC Vancouver is stacked. I wish that this card was being headlined by Renier de Ridder versus Anthony Hernandez like it was originally slated to be, but Fluffy got injured, so Brendan Allen is stepping in to face RDR. Still a fun stylistic matchup, but I think that everybody really wanted to see RDR versus Hernandez because it seems like stylistically one of those two guys is the guy to give a challenge to Hamza, at least as of now. But then the co-main, I think this is going to be a war. Kevin Holland versus Mike Malott. Chito Vera is returning versus, speak of the devil, Eamon Zahavi. And big flyweight fight on there for the ladies. Manon Fiorot versus Jasmine Jasuda Vicious. That's a massive one for 125. And a lot of other good fights, stylistic matchups on this card. So you guys aren't going to want to miss it. Aren't going to want to miss the pod that we do on it next week. And besides that, if you guys haven't already, check out the BKFC 82 vlog. We had a lot of cool access due to the media credential that's somewhere over there. And yeah, you guys are definitely going to want to check that one out. We got up to a lot of cool stuff that weekend. So until next week, guys, see y'all.
Feel just like a superstar. Doing all these drugs, I don't think I'm gonna see tomorrow. Living fast, brand new dash up in a foreign car. It's the type of shit that you